A big hello and welcome to all of us who've joined us for this very special live broadcast. Now, the month of June is a very proud month for all Indians, especially for all the cricket geeks amongst us, because it marks the anniversary month of India's 1983 World Cup triumph. And joining us for this very special discussion that's devoted to India's road to glory and talking about India's success during that World Cup is a member of the 1983 winning team of India, Mr. Kirti Azad, as well as journalist extraordinaire Ayaz Memon. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for this live broadcast. I'm thoroughly excited for the conversation that we have lined up for all of viewers today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
I just
Mr.
like to
Azad,
add,
go for it.
Anubhav,
Yes,
just like to add
yes.
here, he was not just a member of the 1983 World Cup winning team, but he became a very crucial member, a critical member because the semis and the final, he had a very important role to play in both those wins.
Absolutely. And I think a big chunk of the discussion will be about the semi-finals and the finals. And as you pointed out, Mr. Azad's very vital contributions in both of those matches. Fantastic. But before we talk about the fag end of the tournament, Mr. Azad, I want to start things off with what the mindset of the team was like before going into the tournament. Of course, no one gave India a chance. People thought of India as underdogs. What was the belief like in the squad? Were you looking at this as, a venture where you didn't really have much to lose? What was the mindset like before the tournament began?
I was playing league cricket in England. I was playing there as a professional in Lancashire. And I think there were about 7 or 8 of us from the team who were playing as professionals. I got a call early morning from my father. He was a very strict man. So I said, yes, sir, thank you, Papa, thank you. And then I got a call from Kapil saying, very well done, Lado Javano, you are there, your name is there for the World Cup team. So I laughingly, jokingly said to Kapil, oh, thank you very much, free paid holiday for 15 days and we can travel around England and that's about it. That's a fact. I think the chances for us to win was 1 to 99. We were just above Zimbabwe out of the 8 teams that played that tournament. So Jimmy was playing, that is Mohinder Amanath was playing in Lancaster. So I called him up and I said, Jimmy, I'll come to you and we'll go together to the hotel in London, wherever the team is going to assemble. So that is what it was. We hadn't given ourselves a chance. Forget people hadn't given us a chance, but we hadn't given ourselves a chance. But there was one man who had established himself as one of the greatest all-rounders in the world, and our skipper, Kapil Dev. And then we had one of the greatest opening batsmen in the world, Sunil Gavaskar, who played against the best fast bowling at any given point of time in cricket of history. So we had these 2 people there, and we had the experience of Mohinder, we had the experience of Syed Kirmani, and we had a few of us who were considered, those who never played along the ground were not called as cricketers. We were told, so we had a Shrikant, we had a Sandeep Patil, and I was there, and then obviously Kapil used to love his strokes like that. Roger was like that. So many of us were there, and we were all-rounders, but nothing in comparison to what Kapil and Mr. Gavaskar had achieved in their lifetime as cricketers. So when we went together, it was great fun, lots of leg pulling of each other, barring Mr. Gavaskar and Kirmani and Jimmy Amanath, because they were seniors. But sometimes Kiri also would get into the fun, and that was the greatness about him. But then we were a very good unit. We were there and we said, we're going to enjoy the game of cricket, and you enjoy by playing good cricket. What happens as results, we'll see it later. So that is how it all started. It was starting that we all of us getting together, 7 of us from in England, other 7 from various parts of the country joining us there. And many other players had decided to go to the United States of America after completing a league, because we never thought we'll get into the semifinals. So the tickets were booked immediately after the last game of the league to go to the US to play some matches there. So this is what it is. This is how I start.
Yeah. I'll just Anubhav, I'll just kind of pitch in here a little bit. So this is absolutely fascinating. And when you look back, how this group kind of came together in itself is a story. As Kirti mentioned, that 7 of them were playing in the league, etc. I just like to add here that apart from Sunny Gavaskar and Syed Kirmani, who were born before 1950, so to speak, there was a whole clutch of them in the same age group virtually. Sandeep Patil,
Correct.
Dilip Vengsarkar. I think the baby of the side was perhaps Ravi Shastri. Who was born in maybe a few years after Kirti and Shrikant and
No, we were born in the same year. He was born a
same
couple of
year.
months
There you
later.
are. There you are.
Yeah.
So the when you have so many people of the same age group, there is a certain vibe which kind of spreads automatically. And
We had played inter-varsity cricket together, Rohinton Bari and Vizzy Trophy, against each other, like Shrikant, Ravi Shastri, Sunil Walson, and I were in the same team for North Zone and Delhi. So we had played university cricket together. I mean, we had grown up playing against each other.
yes, so I mean that and the thing what Kirti mentioned very important that as when you look back in hindsight that there was no great burden of expectation because frankly nobody gave them a hope in hell of winning. I mean, I can speak personally for myself, and I think I mentioned this to you, Anubhav, earlier, that I reached England to cover the tournament, and the first match was India versus West Indies, which I skipped. I said, "Yahan to pitai hogi." So I went and watched England versus New Zealand at the Oval, and guess what happened? India beat the West Indies in the first match.
By
So
34 runs.
yeah,
Right.
and that was a lesson for me as a professional journalist that you can't take your eyes off the assignment you've come for. I mean, however, whatever the rating and ranking, because in that same tournament, Kirti, you might remember, Zimbabwe beat Australia in the first match.
Yes, very true.
So
Very true.
yeah, all kinds of things started happening from the first day itself.
I
Or the
mean,
first day of the
upset.
tournament, the first match.
Yeah, the upset started the very first day.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
talking about that first match that India played against the West Indies, and as Mr. Azad pointed out, India won by 34 runs. Mr. Azad, after that game, was there a drastic shift in the mindset? Of course, not to undermine the accomplishment of the team, but did you think ki acha tukka lag gaya, it's an upset, it's a one-off, or did you actually feel ki no, maybe we do have the pedigree to do better than what we expected before the tournament?
We definitely knew that if we play according to our potential, we are a good side. And though nobody had given us a chance, so obviously, like Ayaz said, that we didn't have that kind of a pressure expectation that we have to win the World Cup. As subsequently, you had teams in the 2010 times. So when we played the first game against the West Indies, Yashpal played a fabulous innings, and it was brilliant batting by him. And Ravi took 3 wickets. Roger got, I think, 20 odd and took 3 wickets. So we were playing as a team, and everybody was contributing bits and pieces in the side. And after you beat West Indies, you get into the team bus. All of us are very happy, and it's really great going. And Kapil comes up and says, "Well, if we can beat West Indies once, we can beat them twice." Now that
Uh,
hit us straight away. And I said, "Is it possible?" So 3, 4 of us who were the jokers and used to always make fun of others, and we said, "Really? Well, fair enough. Have a couple of extra beers, and that's it." So, so that is how it started. But definitely, it hit us after the very first game that here we've done so well, and we can definitely reach the semi-finals. So we should work hard for it. Yet, we were not convinced that can we do that. But still, one man, as I said, Kapil Dev, always was convinced that we can do it. And that is the greatness about that man.
And of course, he also made it possible with that match against Zimbabwe, and he just turned the match around on its head.
Don't ask me about that brilliant innings. And people say that BBC was on strike. I don't think so. BBC was on strike. BBC was not taking India seriously. And they thought it's an India Zimbabwe game, and hence we should not do it. I think they were showing a game of, England versus somebody or West Indies versus somebody. And they were more interested in those games. It wasn't as if BBC was on strike. I don't think so. But that was one of the best innings I've seen. Viv Richards, obviously, he was very explosive and brilliant, no doubt. I mean, I've been on the wrong side of having the fury when he batted really well, which he also did in the semi-finals, where in the finals when you saw the flash in the World Cup. But then that innings of 175 by Kapil, with 17 for 5 down, the wicket was wet, it was damp, it was a drying track, and I was the 12th man. And I watched every single ball that day. And Kapil went in, he started a little slowly. And then the way he batted was, oh, marvelous treat to the eyes, feast for the eyes. And I remember it was Diwali day that day. Diwali
Yes.
as far as cricket is concerned, because Tunbridge Wells has this top which is made of tin, and the ball would go hit the tin, the six, ting, 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 it would come down as if you have a laddi, pataka laddi,
Yeah.
and that was absolutely superb innings. So in between, he wanted to change a bat, and he wanted an off-shoulder bat. So I asked him, when you're doing so well with that bat, why do you want this? I don't remember. He said something, yaar, iske run pure ho gaya, iske pure kar leta hu. Something like that. I don't remember. But then I'll tell you. And the way I think Roger and then Kiri Bhai,
Really.
Kirmani, he just stood there and he gave him a fabulous stand. We scored, I think, 260, and Kapil was 175 not out. What an innings!
Yeah.
I mean, I can't forget it. I can't, even if I don't see it on television, but I can see it in my mind working the way he played. Brilliant innings.
Absolutely. I just, anybody who's seen it will never forget it. I saw it briefly from the porch of the dressing room. In those days, the sanitization process was not so strong. You could pop in and out of the dressing room once in a while with permission from the manager, and then from the stands. But my rating, Kirti, is that this is the greatest ODI innings ever.
I do agree. I said in the beginning, yes, it
They
is.
have made 189. Saeed Anwar made 194. There have been double hundreds by Rohit Sharma, Sachin, Sehwag. But 17 for 5 takes you to 262. You win the match, turns the match on its head. And remember, he is an all-rounder. He's not your mainline, frontline specialist batsman. The impact it
But
has on the match, on the tournament, and on the sport, sport globally. There's been no innings like this.
but I'll tell you one thing, as when you talk about Kapil, he would qualify to be in any team as an all-rounder, no doubt.
Yes,
But he
yes,
can qualify to be in any side as a batsman or as a bowler or as a fielder.
correct. I
I
agree.
mean, he was so athletic. I mean,
Yeah,
you remember the catch that he took of Viv Richards in the finals?
absolutely.
My God! Whenever I see that tape, nowadays you put it on the CD. But whenever I used to see the tape, when you had those tapes on the videos, I
Yes.
always fast forward it when he's taking the catch, just thinking, what if he just drops it and we lose the game?
No, that was amazing.
Yeah.
So, just thought. So we've come to the Zimbabwe match, and obviously this is a turnaround game. But what has also intrigued me, and I know I was pretty much in the same age group. Forget my white hair now, but also starting out. That was my second tour ever on a cricket tour. So between matches, you all had one bus which took you all over England, right? You all used the same bus throughout, and obviously somebody had. If I remember correctly, Anubhav,
Mhm.
Sandhu told us that Kirsi was in charge of the cold drinks in the bus. He's, you know,
I think Mr. Azad and Roger Binney as well is the name that he took, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, when they were asking for cold drinks, then we were three or four of us who would quietly slip in a few beers there to to have, because Roger, Sandeep, Ravi, um, and a couple of others, they would love a glass of beer or whatever. So we would keep it, and all the soft drinks and other things used to be there. So it used to
But I
be
think that also,
National Express. National Express was
correct.
the bus company that was
Yes,
uh,
yes,
working those days. Yeah.
and Mr. Azad, but tell us, a lot of people might actually think of moments such as these as being trivial. But from what I can tell, right, I'm pretty sure these moments that you had on the team bus when you were out there, perhaps exploring some of the pubs in London, the nightlife in London between matches, perhaps before the tournament, that definitely helped in creating that strong camaraderie. And so, although on paper people may not have given India a chance, but somehow there was synergies that you were able to derive. And it reminds me of like the Leicester City fairy tale in many ways, right? On paper, yes, other teams may have players of better caliber, but at the same time, the way the team came together, gelled well, bonded beautifully. ended up manifesting in a miracle story. So I'm pretty sure these moments that you spent on the bus, off the field, definitely helped and contributed in a big way towards you guys achieving that success.
I'll tell you, before this, there was a lot of feeling of people from north, south, west, east, central. Those kind of things were there. But, with the generation, the guys when we started playing, I mean, Sandeep might have been a couple of years older than me. Roger might have been a couple of years older than me. Ravi, Krishnamachari, Sunil Walson, myself, uh, Madipa was much senior.
Yeah.
So, we just gelled well. And the best part was that the seniors amongst us, people like Madipa, Kiri Bhai, Sunny Bhai, that is Sunny Gavaskar, Jimmy Amanat. I mean, they would also enjoy. The question is that if you're playing well, you're enjoying, and you can only enjoy when there is a camaraderie between the seniors and the juniors, and there's no differentiation as such, and so you are able to express yourself more, which is
Mhm.
not only off the field but also on the field, because then you can openly talk to them, you can go to them, converse with them, and ask them for what should I do if you are in some kind of trouble. So that camaraderie really worked for us, and with the seniors gelling well, and obviously nobody having that pressure to score because nobody was expecting us to win, took a lot of pressure off. But that did not mean that we did not work hard
Right.
to play our best and win the World Cup. I mean, reach the semi-finals to start with. We'll talk about it after when we reach the semi-finals.
Absolutely. And is that something you observed as well, Ayaz? Looking from the outside, and not just the outsider, of course, like back in the day, as you mentioned, the distance between the cricketers and the
Yeah.
journalists wasn't all that much. So you oftentimes had like an inside scope of everything that was happening. You, of course, had lots of friends who were on the Indian team as well. Did you see this very special bond amongst all the members of that team?
So let me be honest. I think there was a lot of skepticism. There were only six of us journalists from India on tour then. And frankly, amongst ourselves, we used to say, "Theek hai, pehla match jeet gaya." But for us to win the tournament, it
Mhm.
seemed outrageous to even
Right.
think. Much as one got along well with the players, we kind of buried our skepticism during our conversations. But skepticism was there. However, what and I think Kirti made a very very important point here, that Indian cricket was dogged by, say, zonalism, uh, nepotism, etc. Stories, and we all grew up even in the profession thinking, यार ये एक दूसरे की टांग खींच के एक दूसरे को गिरा देंगे, north, south, east, west. What we saw on this tour was this was not happening, and that was, you would expect that, in a major tournament like this, these things shouldn't come through. But the past stories of what one had read and heard about of Indian cricket weren't very encouraging. However, from the first match onwards, which India won, beating the West Indies, which was a surprise. And this is something that started interesting us, even amongst journalists. Let's see what happens. How can they build from here? It was a roller coaster ride. It wasn't that they won every match through and through.
Right.
Uh, so they had some upsets, they had some setbacks, and of course that crunch match against Zimbabwe, which turned things around. But what emerged, and I think what I think played a huge role over here is that there were so many of them in the same age group, and they gelled well. Kirti must have been what, 23, 24 at that point in time, young man. So
24.
24, and so to Shrikant. Shrikant was just got married. He was actually on his honeymoon.
Correct.
Around the
He
same age.
was to go to the US for the honeymoon.
Yeah, go to the US. Dilip and Sandeep Patil of the same age, a couple of years older than Kirti. Roger Binney, a couple of years. So that, the youthful vigor, I think, overtook everything else. If there were any other tugs and pulls, they didn't manifest over there, and that was the great thing. In fact, if you write about Indian cricket history, that World Cup tour may be the turning point where this usual story of zonal considerations superseding everything else, they started getting buried. We don't have that now, thankfully. Okay, occasionally it may happen, but by and large, that stories of great nepotism which used to haunt Indian cricket, and I'm sure even players when they were growing up from the junior ranks, started getting buried from that World Cup tour in 1983.
Brilliant, brilliant.
True,
And
very
of
true.
course, every single match that was played, every single win that India got under its belt during that tournament had its significance. Like Mr. Azad mentioned, the first match after we beat the West Indies on the day of the final, couple probably told every single team member that if we could beat them once, we can beat them again, right? Then the match against Zimbabwe showed that, regardless of how precarious the situation might be, we can still claw ourselves back, and we can still keep hanging by the skin of our teeth. But was there any one particular match after which you felt that, yes, this is definitely the turning point, that one match that was pivotal in completely changing the tide, in giving you that sense of belief that, yes, now we can actually go all the way? Was it that Zimbabwe match or any other match that you would actually pinpoint?
I think I would go for that 175 by Kapil in those conditions. Cricket is cricket. You need just one ball to get out. A bowler has six balls to get you out. A batsman needs just one ball to get out. And he is going in at number 7. And he scored a brilliant 175 not out. And he instills that kind of confidence into the entire side that if you have the will, you have the way. And this is what exactly he did. And after having beaten West Indies, having lost the next game, then beating Zimbabwe, obviously with that kind of innings, it really imbibed a lot of enthusiasm, courage, and the confidence in us that we could win this World Cup. So I would say that would be the turning point of the tournament.
Oh, absolutely. I think, Anubhav, there's no question. I mean, you ask any player of that in that contingent, will say that that was the turning point, because the sheer facts, the stats tell you how. 9 for 4, 17 for 5. You're virtually kind of saying goodbye, and these guys would be then taking the flight out to the US or wherever, and then there's this massive turnaround which happens. And
we almost made it to the US in this game.
Also, what happens when you have an innings of this kind, a massive turnaround where a match is turned around on its head. Like, I'll just draw a little analogy, which happened much later, almost 20 years later, is the Rahul Dravid and VVS Lakshman partnership at Kolkata against Australia. They bat an entire day. They turn the match around on its head. And the fortune of Indian cricket, the destiny of Indian cricket in test matches starts changing also. So these are pivotal. These are not just milestones. These are major inflection points that happen in the course of a tournament, in the course of a country's cricket history. I think in Kapil Dev's case, and I mentioned this earlier, it actually transformed the way the world would view India as a cricketing nation, especially in limited overs cricket, and it changed the destiny of the sport. India became the bastion of international cricket from there onwards.
Correct.
The shift in power started from there, from the 1983 victory. The money may have come later after the opening up of the economy and liberalization, but the shift
after ESPN and Star came in.
Correct.
It's 93 when television commercialization took place.
Correct. So there's no question that 175 was the turning point.
Superb. And Ayaz, you had pointed out at the start of the conversation, you talked about how Mr. Azad had played a vital and a pivotal role in the semi-finals as well as the finals. So we'll talk about those two matches. And of course, there are lots of questions that are coming in from the viewers as well. So before taking questions from the viewers, let's just briefly touch upon the semi-finals and the finals. In the semi-finals, of course, we were playing England. No one, absolutely no one, gave us a chance. England were firm favorites, but we did well to restrict them to 213 in 60 overs. And Mr. Azad, of course, played a vital role, and he had very impressive figures of 12 overs, 1 maiden, 28 runs conceded, and 1 wicket. The wicket of none other than Sir Ian Botham. Mr. Azad, talk to us about your experience in that final. You were very impressive with your bowling figures. What was that spark what gave you that spark during the semi-final?
Well, we were playing at Old Trafford, and the club that I played for was about 100 kilometers from where the match was going on. Well, anyways, that was a beautiful summer day in England. It was really hot. In India, like you, in June, you're sitting here, you're 42, 43, but it must have been 34, 35. The wicket was absolutely dry, and there was no bounce in the track. The outfield was absolutely dry, although there was grass on it. And those days, 4.5 to 5 runs an over was a very good average. Nowadays, you have 6, 7, 8, sometimes 10 in a match, and it is chased. But those days, if you had 4.5, 4, 5, and if you could restrict the other side. So I remember when Chris Tavare and I think Graham Fowler, they came in to open the innings. and they started playing really well, and they had scored about 96 for two in approximately 18 or 19 overs. The ball,
Mhm.
which should generally in English conditions should have been new, but because of the track, which was dead and dry, and also the outfield had definitely worn off, and there was a little bit of shine, but then the hardness of the ball had gone. And then Jimmy was called. Mohindra Manath was called from the other end, and he came in and bowled. And he bowled military medium. He wasn't medium pace. It was military medium, which he would just amble in slowly and just bowl at about 65, 70. But he would cut the ball in and out, in cutters, out cutters, and he bowled to a good line and length. And he troubled Gower. And I saw that when he was bowling to David Gower, he was having trouble timing the ball when he was coming forward or going back because the ball was not coming onto the bat. For a batsman, you always need the ball to come onto your bat. So immediately, Kapil had already asked me that you're going to bowl from the other end. So I came into bowl, and I had decided in my mind that I will bowl slower than usual. I used to bowl quickish off spin, but then I decided that I'll bowl really slow because if I bowl quickish, the ball will get onto the bat and it will be easier to play, to make strokes. So I came in bowled slower, so good over, and then got that opportunity. And then we had this Ian Botham coming in. He stayed there for about 26 balls and scored, I think, four or five. He tried to play a reverse sweep also. He was getting frustrated. A lot of booing was happening because the Indian diaspora, the Indian people, who they disliked Ian Botham. And they were very happy. They were booing him. And they were, clapping for me. Yes, Kirti, come on, come on, come on, Paji, kar dena, karo tusi. And nu nahi run banane dena, isko run nahi banane dena. And, all that stuff keeps coming into you. So anyways, I bowled and he got frustrated, played a reverse sweep. And I was bowling really slow. So the ball was not coming onto the bat. Stroke play was difficult. It was a really hot day. Indians are used to it. I don't think so they were. But in any case, that ball that I bowled was slower than anything else, any other ball that I have bowled in my entire life. It pitched and it kept low. It kept about only a couple of inches above the stump, below the stump, couple of inches from the ground. It hit the stump. So obviously everybody was very happy. People from the crowd came in. Somebody gave me a 50 pound in my pocket. Somebody gave me 5 pounds, 1 pound. So I collected a good amount of money because if you'll see, you'll find that those people have come in and they are putting their hands in my pocket and giving me money. So I got that wicket. So Kapil came. Now Kapil came and all of us were standing there. And Kapil says, "Kirti, ek baat bata. Ball या तो low रह सकती है या spin कर सकती है. ये लो भी रह गई, ये स्पिन भी कर गई, ये तूने कैसे किया?" तो मैंने कहा ये मेरा ट्रेड सीक्रेट है, ये मैं नहीं बता सकता. now today it's 37 years since that match is over. Even today I don't know how that ball happened.
He's being very honest. He's being very honest, and that's a great thing. But I can tell you, sitting away about 75, 80 yards away in the press box, and this was a terrific match. The atmosphere in the semi-final was electric. India versus England.
Ayaz, do you remember that I think Graham Fowler and Savre both played for Lancashire?
Yeah. Oh, is it?
Yeah, and you remember they had the previous evening, they were on Lancashire TV, and
Yes.
they were talking about the finals that they would play against West Indies. They didn't even mention India, that they were supposed to play the day after in the semi-finals. Do you remember that? And then we were shown a newspaper cutting by a manager, PR Man Singh, and he said, "Bhai, ye dekho bhai, ye tumhari auqat hai. England sailed through, easy match today," or something it was. And it really pepped us up. And by that time, having beaten the West Indies, having beaten Australia, having beaten Zimbabwe, so we were quite upbeat. And now, in the semi-finals, we were there. We knew we are in the semi-finals, and we said we are just one game away from the final. Let's win this game and think about the final later. So this is how it was.
No, but just to add a little bit about the bowling spell that he's, frankly, when he started bowling, when Kapil got him into bowl, we thought that he'll probably bowl 2-3 overs, because India was flush with bowlers. There were lots of all-rounders in the team, so 3-4 over dal dega, whatever. Botham's wicket was obviously something which everybody remembers, and that's been a major talking point, and perhaps in that match the turning point, because a big blast from Botham, 40-50 runs, could have been crucial in the
Very true.
outcome. But it was he's been kind of very modest or self-deprecatory in saying that ball niche bhi reh gaya or spinning it. But the control, see, you don't give 28 runs in 12 overs if your line and length is vagrant, yahan wahan phek rahe ho. So people, these guys at the international level, whether it's a Gawar or Botham, will nudge you here, nudge you there, pick up singles, wait for a loose ball and crack you. When you bowl accurately, giving them no room to play their strokes or create strokes, that's when you put them under pressure. And that is what happened in those 12 overs. He seemed to be the weakest link in the attack, so Botham got more frustrated कि इसको भी नहीं, इनसे भी run नहीं मिल रहे. And he tried to play that shot, and of course he got bowled. But those 12 overs were marked for its accuracy and control. I think that should be put to his credit.
I think it was Jimmy at the other end. We bowled 24 overs in tandem.
In tandem, yes.
He bowled 12 overs on the trot. I bowled 12 overs from the trot. He gave 27 runs. I gave 28 runs. In those 24 overs, we only gave 55 runs, and we put the brakes on their scoring with taking 4 wickets amongst us. Gatting, I think, and then Alan Lamb got run out. Gawa was caught behind, and I got both of them. So these 4 wickets and only 55 runs in 24 overs, we really broke the backbone of the English batting, and also really the scoring grade. I think it went to about approximately 3.6 or 3.7 when we left, when our quota of over was over.
Absolutely. That was certainly poetic justice after beating England, especially when no one really gave us a chance. None of the English players also thought of us as being a challenge. Let's talk about the final now. Mr. Azad, aapne kaha tha ki when the tournament began, of course, there was absolutely no pressure. The burden of expectations wasn't quite there. But I'm pretty sure before the final, you must have been nervous. The entire team must have been nervous because there was a lot to gain and a lot to lose as well, right? So tell us about how confident you were feeling. What was the mood in the camp like prior to the final against the West Indies?
Well, no doubt West Indies was the best one-day side ever, with a Gordon Greenidge and a Desmond Haynes and a Viv Richards and a Larry Gomes and a Fort Backus and a Clive Lloyd and a Jeff Dujon and 4 fast bowlers coming in. It's one of the best bowling lineups and one of the best batting lineups that you can ever see in any team. And here we are, obviously, our hearts pumping really high, and I had a loose motion in the morning. Obviously, when you're a little tense, you always do that. Many of us had it. But once we went to the ground, there was something within us that now we've come here. I mean, how can we go back without having anything with us? And suddenly Kapil goes there, and we go and watch the pitch, and we see that generally in a one-day game, that to a final World Cup, you basically give a playing track, which is good for batting. I mean, you let runs flow to the bat. And here we go, and we come to this Lord's cricket ground, the Mecca of cricket, and it's a green top, and then you have those 4 great fast bowlers in the side who bowl over 95, each of them. One replaces the other. And only to fill in the 5th bowler, they have a Viv Richards and a Larry Gomes to share 6 overs each amongst themselves. So obviously we were a little taken aback, not by that there was green top, but because we thought that it would be a surface which would also help the batsmen to play. But here it was distinct advantage to the West Indian side. And lo and behold, we were 183 all out. And obviously Shrikant started with some good hitting in the beginning. And that was it. And then a little bit of contribution from here and there, and 183. Half of the crowd went out, thinking that, India is not going to win this game. I mean, even Kapil's and Madan Lal's wife, they went back. After Vibrichan started hitting 4s and 6s, they went back. So did Pammi Gavaskar, wife of Mr. Sunil Gavaskar. They all went back shopping and other places. Ki, ab to jana hai hum log ko. So chalte hain yahan se. They didn't know. And they didn't know that we had won the bloody match after we came to them and told them that we won the game. So here is 183 all out. And we are in the dressing room. Now there is gloom. We have reached here. And what the hell is happening? So Kapil says, हमने 183 बनाए हैं, उनको बनाने हैं. It might not be a winning total, but it is a fighting total. And that is how it went. And then everything is history. I mean, with Balinder Sandhu bowling to Greenage and he's doing his, you know, arms up and all that, getting gold. And then Kapil's catch, that was extraordinary catch. I think that guy is such an athlete. He ran, I think, 30 or 40 yards. It's generally, you can go forward and take a catch. It's much easier than running backwards, sideways, and keeping your head still, because you have to keep your head still. If you play any ball game, any cock or any game, you have to keep your head absolutely still. And it's very difficult when you're running back because you're running like this. And he takes that catch, and suddenly I see two people running in from there. And so obviously I fast forwarded just in case agar wo ladke se takra gaye Kapil se to catch na chhoot jaye.
And Ayaz, if you could perhaps highlight Mr. Azad's contribution bowling in that final. Of course, he didn't pick up a wicket, but he bowled 3 overs and conceded only 7 runs. So definitely kept things very tight, which perhaps piled on pressure and allowed other bowlers to pick up crucial wickets.
I'm still certain that I had taken Def Dujon's wicket. He was leg before to me. My second over, third ball.
Yeah. No, I think the challenge for the Indian team was, you got a very modest score on the board, 183. Even on a grassy pitch, 183 against this kind of a lineup, which Kirti enumerated from number 1 to number 7, they were all terrific batsmen. So how to defend that score is something that again, the accuracy and the astuteness. Notwithstanding the great delivery from Sandhu, which got Greenage, or the great catch which got Viv Richards, the great Viv Richards out. Those were big blows. But 183, they could have managed with a Dujon, a Bacchus, and even Lloyd, I think he had a hamstring problem. Because they had and remember, Malcolm Marshall could bat a bit, and so could Andy Roberts. They didn't have a pure vanilla number 11 batsman. Somebody or the other could, stand there and if it came to that, put up 20, 30, 40 runs and win the match.
Do you remember Ayaz in 75? Yeah. David Murray, the wicketkeeper, and Andy Roberts had scored 70 odd runs against Pakistan and won that game.
Yes, absolutely. So this was always going to be the challenge. Okay? You can't just be having great attacking fields because you have a small total defense, because that's one way to do it. But you had to also be accurate, so you don't suddenly you get a burst of runs like Viv Richards threatened to finish the match in 25 overs. And he got out at just the time that India thought that the match was gone from their grasp. Luckily, that he got out. But
you know how he got out. You know the story behind that. The thing is, just before that, Madan Lal, who bowled to him, was hit for 3 boundaries by Viv Richards. So Kapil said, "Madipa, break le lo, baad mein kar lena." So Madipa said, "यार ये मुझे बॉलर नहीं समझता, तुम मेरे को एक ओवर और दे दे, बस एक ओवर दे दे." Kapil give me the वो से हाथ से बॉल लिया और कहता ठीक है भाई, he's so confident. Kapil was such a great guy. I mean, what a great captain he was. He said, "Okay, Madipa." Madipa took it, and then that wicket, and we won the World Cup. Just one decision.
That's true. So tell me, what were the moments like, Kirti? So we've got Viv Richards out, and Clive Lloyd is dismissed. Dujon is struggling to put together a partnership, and you all can now sense that kuch na kuch chamatkar ho sakta hai yahan pe. It's not easy, but the last 2-3 wickets, what was the feeling like? What was the conversation between your players?
Well, we are upbeat, and there was one partnership, I think, of 46 between Dujon and Marshall, was it?
Yes, Dujon Marshall. Yes.
Dujon Marshall, there was a partnership. So we were feeling, again, jittery as to what is going to happen. But then it was decided, because at the second half, now after playing the first half, which was green top and all that, second half, due to the really heat that you have in England, again, the wicket had slowed down.
Yeah.
And the ball was not coming onto the bat. With Jimmy, if you remember, he was bowling in the end. He got 3 wickets. And ball again was coming slow off the track. And then I think who was at the other end? I don't remember that. But then again, we restricted them, didn't let them score runs. And once you stop these players, who are stroke players. I mean, in West Indies, you may have a 9, 10 or jack batsman in your side, but they like to play strokes. And if you don't let them play strokes, Uh, they, they want to get out of their shell and do it. And that is what exactly
Yeah.
happened. Those 3 wickets, and we decided that just keep on bowling to a good line and length and restrict them. And that was what we had to do. And that is what we did. And I think the bowling was marvelous, and that was great captaincy, won the World Cup.
So here you've got the scene, Anubhav, let me just step in because I've now
Mhm.
these images come vividly in mind. There's swarm of people rushing towards the Lord's balcony because India has won the World Cup and, turned the cricket world upside down. Frankly, that is what had happened. So what was the scene in the dressing room immediately after the match? Could you all believe it yourselves? And subsequently, what happened to all the partying? Because everybody had to change their plans from going to the US. All the action was all in England at that evening, and certainly subsequently in India.
Uh, well, we won it, and obviously we didn't have any champagne in our room because nobody expected. But Kapil Dev from his bag takes out a champagne bottle and says, "I've been carrying it from day one." That was the kind of confidence he had. So he had the champagne out. We fizzed it out on everyone. Nobody got an opportunity what to do about it. So we said, there are magnums in the West Indian team. What should we do? And so I said, okay, let's take a chance. So I and somebody else with me, we went in there and said, bad luck. And then, a few abusive, what the hell are you doing here, this and that. And I just pointed at that champagne and I was like, oh, wow, with an explicit. They said, take it out. So I just had one magnum here, one in my hand, and came back to the dressing room. So this was it. So, I mean, that was the fun. And then the very next day, I had to go and play in my league. So I couldn't come back to India to meet
Oh,
the president and the prime minister, late Srimati Indira Gandhi, because of my contract. So that's the unfortunate part of it. But then, obviously, it's a great feeling. This month on the 25th, we'll win the World Cup. So kindly congratulate to us in advance.
fantastic.
And talking a bit more about some of the post-match celebrations, we have our very own Mandira Lalwani, who's saying, Kirti, looking well. Who was the first person you wanted to call after that iconic win? And does the exhilaration ever fade?
Well, I'll tell you, there were no mobile phones at that time, and it was difficult to. I mean, you could do direct trunk dial from England, but from India it was very difficult.
Yeah.
And since I was going back, so I went back to my flat, which was given to me obviously by my club. So the first thing I did was I called up my father, and my mother was also there, and they said we've been getting congratulatory messages since from last night. It finished at about, I think, 12 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
and he got a call from the prime minister, late Mrs. Gandhi, and then from the president and from his ministerial colleagues and his other friends and colleagues from back his constituency in Bhagalpur and others. And from across the country, he was getting it. So he was absolutely ecstatic. He was absolutely full of joy and a lot of excitement. So was my mother and the entire family. They were shouting when he was talking to me. They were shouting at the back. So obviously, it was a great feeling.
And you mentioned that you weren't able to go back home the next day, but when you did get back home, what was the reception like? How did your family react to it? Akanksha Joshi is asking us, how did your family react when you came back with the trophy? And the reason I'm asking you this question is because we asked a similar question to Mr. Sandhu as well, and he mentioned that he hadn't quite understood the magnitude of the success until he went back home, hugged his father. His father had tears in his eyes, and that's when he understood what this meant for the entire nation.
Well, he's hit the nail on the head. He's hit the nail on the head. I think we won it. And the question is that this is never talked about for a simple reason, because we don't have nowadays the way you have these libraries where they show you the 2009 World Cup, 2011 World Cup, or the various World Cups that have been
Yeah.
played. Those days, there were no libraries and nobody kept it. It wasn't so professional. It wasn't commercial. It wasn't 19 camera job. It used to be a 4 or 5 camera at the maximum. Only Channel 9 in Australia used to do it professionally. That also with about 4 or 5. We didn't have these run out cameras or leg umpire cameras or mid wicket cameras and all that. There's nothing. You had 2 cameras at 2 ends, bowling ends, and 2 on the side. That's about it. Nothing else. So nobody has seen that. And had you seen those games, and if it was being televised, forget commercial. I don't talk about commercial. We played for pride and not for money, pride and passion of the game. But then, you know, had it been televised And had you had the archives, you would believe that that was the stepping stone for India to get onto the international map as a cricketing giant of the world. And well, that was it. So I think we were just a stepping stone. We have now great cricketers who are doing so well. I wish them all the best. And I hope the corona goes away as soon as possible. And we see our cricketers nowadays.
Absolutely. And the next question is one that both Ayaz as well as you can answer. You, of course, the dynamic between the fans and the players back then was very different compared to what the dynamic is now. And Nandini Garg is asking us, you spoke about being very young during the tournament. You mentioned you were 24 during the tournament. What was the fan engagement like after you reached and won the finals? Was there any celebration with the fans?
Well,
Well,
to
there was
answer
actually,
Nandini,
fan engagement. Yeah. Sorry, Kirti.
go ahead after you. Have.
No, I'm saying this word fan engagement is a very is very new in the lexicon in Indian cricket. It comes from social media, fan engagement, etc. Look, if that same, and I've thought about it at great length and in great depth, if the same tournament had to be replayed today, exactly as it was in 1983, 37 years ago, there would be tumult on social media in terms of fan engagement. A no hoping team going there, having won only one match previously in World Cups. That is in 1979, India beat East Africa. That was the
Yeah,
extent of our achievement in World Cup cricket till 1983. Now
which mostly
imagine if
comprised of Gujaratis.
Gujaratis, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, he's taking a bit of a pot shot, but never mind. No, I'm saying look at it. Look at the magnitude and look at the trajectory this story would have taken if there was social media available and the cable TV penetration and digital platform going and beating West Indies first match, then going and the whole you map the entire tournament. There would be tumult. Which it did at that point in time, certainly, but the amplification was not there because this kind of the age information age hadn't dawned. We are living in the information age where baat ka patangar bahut jaldi ban jata hai. But an achievement like that would have driven, I can tell you, it would have been historic.
Well,
it is
let
historic,
me.
but
Well, I think we had a lot of fan following. We had a lot of Indians, obviously in England, and
yes,
they would follow us all around wherever we went and played. They all followed us. There were four or five of them. You'll see that when the movie '83 comes. It was to be released on the 10th or 11th of April because of Corona. It's got delayed. So you're asking them, will you do it on digital? They say no. It's a big screen film, so we'll wait. And it's a period film, so it's not going to go out of fashion anyway. So wherever we went, we had these fans. When we're leaving the hotel, we find fans. We reach the ground, we have fans. Uh, when you're playing, when I got Botham's wicket, you have those fans coming in and putting money in my pocket. When you won the game
yeah,
or whatever, they would be standing there. Those days, there were no mobile cameras. There were actual cameras, the little Canon ones or the Yashica ones. And you could take those photographs and people wanting autographs. There was no restriction of the crowd or the people coming and meeting you. The hotels used to be full. I remember after we won the World Cup, we came to our Westmoreland Hotel next, just opposite the Lord's
Lords.
Cricket Ground, and we had these people from Southall in London. These people, are Sade Punjabi log with the dhol and everything, and it, going bonkers. The entire thing looked like as if we are in India and we're celebrating a victory in India. I mean, that whole hotel was absolutely full with Indians, even the fans who had come from outside or from across England or from Europe or from those who were from Southall and others. And that's it. Drinks were flowing, and we didn't know who was going to pay. We were scared because we used to only get £7 or £10 a day as daily allowances. And we were scared that who's going to pay for these drinks because we don't have money with us. So, anyways, after a couple of drinks, we said, forget it, yeah. Dekha jayega jab hoga, so hoga. So this was it. I mean, it was great fun. I think it was a great journey. It was a great learning curve. It was something which was a stepping stone for India to be known as the giants of Indian cricket. It was a stepping stone for our youngsters to take up from there. It was a stepping stone for us, where the divide of north, south, east, west, central had gone away or was going away. So it was a first in many ways. And with Sandeep Patil being the leader as far as the pranks were concerned, and the one that we played the pranks most on, with due respect, Yash Paji won't mind it, it was Yash Paji. We used to call him JB. JB meant James Bond.
Ah.
So, 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 so he took the brunt of a lot of our these, and he would get angry also very fast because he was not able to take any jokes or whatever. Though we pulled each other's legs and other things, but that was the great journey of this, that we got together, no expectations, never thought that we'll win. After the first victory and Kapil's 175, then my bowling in the semi-finals, and in between, all the experience that we had. We used to have fun. Once you remember, we went to Coventry to Ravi Sangera. He used to play county cricket. Kapil's friend. We went to his house and for dinner. The entire team went there. And then Ravi and Roger were with me at the swimming pool at his house. So I said, Roger, I don't know what's happened. He came and looked. I just pushed him in the swimming pool. Ravi came running. He said, what happened? I said, I don't know. Roger has gone in, and I pushed him too. And so both of them were in the swimming pool. And then I ran from there. And I didn't know how to swim. So I ran from there. So they caught me in the attic, brought me back, dropped me into the pool, threw me in, and says, well, that's level. And I said, bloody hell, I don't know how to swim. And I was going down, up and down, up and down. So both had to jump again and do it. I said, well, I went once, you went twice. So I'm the winner.
I was just about to put forth this one question that came in from a viewer. Tell us about some funny incident from the tournament, but you've answered that question right now. Of course.
Well, Anmol, I hope you enjoyed that. We had Mr. Yashpal Sharma. He used to watch this movie Kranti, and wherever we go, he would just take his cassette and put it in and watch Kranti, and we were getting all really very serious. So we decided somebody came and said that Sunny Bhai is calling you. Mr. Sunil Gavaskar is calling you. He said, why? Yeah, I don't know, yaar. Why is he calling you? So he went there, we took out the cassette, we threw it out of the window. And he came back and he was furious. Ki, "Kaha gayi meri Kranti movie, or ye ho jayega, or wo ho jayega, or falana hai." So there was quite a few nice moments. And more, once you watch this movie 83, I'm sure you will find a lot of fun in it.
Brilliant. And at the start of the conversation, we had spoken about the camaraderie, the bonding, how well the team gelled, right? I think it's only fitting that we actually conclude proceedings on that note, talking about the culture that was in the team. And here's Mandira, who's asking us another question. And it's very evident from this conversation, Mr. Azad, that you don't mince your words, you speak your heart out. And Mandira saying, you've always been one to speak your mind fearlessly and not mince your words. How did that go down in a team environment? I'm pretty sure like the psychological safety that you talked about early on was a big contributor to the success that the Indian team experienced during the tournament, wasn't it?
Hi Mandira, how are you? It's been a long time I haven't seen you. Are you still in Singapore, if I remember correctly? See, we didn't have any hassles, any problems. And since it was a tour where we were all together, so we could express ourselves. And especially, we would express ourselves, and this is with due respect to the greatness of our captain Kapil Dev, that he always accepts कि हाँ मेरी अंग्रेजी अच्छी नहीं है. He translates his Hindi into English. So we used to, a few of us, we used to just make fun of his English, not him. So he said, जो मेरा करना है कर लो, मुझे मैच के अंदर करके बताओ क्या करना है. क्या करके मुझे दे रहे हो. So there wasn't an opportunity. I have expressed myself obviously fearlessly, and I always do that. But that was a tour where I think everybody expressed. Even Sunil Walson, if he didn't play, he was the only guy who didn't play the World Cup. He also expressed himself. So I think there was no opportunity for anyone to be aggressive, ferocious, or anything of the sort. Since we were enjoying our game, we were winning and enjoying our cricket and winning. So I think it was a great feeling. So thank you for that lovely question, Mandira.
And talking about Mr. Kapil Dev's English, I still remember Mr. Sandhu telling us that sometimes when you guys stepped onto the field, Kapil would often say, "Acha, we'll have fielders there, there, and there." And then it was up to you guys to actually decipher what there meant.
No, I won't. I won't let out the trade secrets now.
Lovely. Fascinating, brilliant discussion. I can't believe we've actually spoken for close to an hour. It did not seem like an hour at all. That
Is
was
it?
free flowing. The conversation was. So, Mr. Azad, hats off to you. Ayaz, hats off to you for being such great conversationalists, sharing so many remarkable anecdotes with us. Yes, Mr. Azad.
Just Anubhav, send me the link for this, then I can put it on my social media.
Absolutely. We'll definitely do that.
Yes, yes, both of
This
us.
Absolutely, will do. So this concludes another fascinating discussion leading up to the 25th of June. Of course,
We're
our
we're
viewers may
having
already
this
know.
we're having this conversation from three corners of the country. I'm at Delhi, you are at Calcutta, and
Right,
Ayaz is at Mumbai.
Yeah.
right,
Yes.
exactly. And talking
Fantastic.
talking about a topic that actually unites, the different nooks and corners of the country as well. And no better month than the month of June, which of course celebrates the the triumph that India was able to attain in
I
1983.
must
This
I
being the
must give
anniversary
you
month.
I must give you one more news.
Yes, sir.
Uh, I'm still 21 years old, and I have from 93 I've come to 74 kilos, and I'm practicing really hard to play A division cricket in Delhi. So I'll be leading these 19, 20 years old the club from where I learned my cricket. So I'll be talking to them about my experience, and I'll be playing with them. And I've told them that if you win, I'll give you my kit back, which has some beautiful, lovely bats and pads and gloves and all that. So I said, I'll give it all to you. So I'm going to play again, and maybe I'll get some runs. Maybe who knows? After maybe a couple of seasons, I may again claim my berth in the Indian team.
So maybe less than a couple of seasons. As they say, form is temporary, class is permanent.
Okay.
Brilliant. Lovely. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Thank you so much, Ayaz, for joining us. And
Thank you.
thank you so much to all our viewers for watching this
Thank you.
entire live
Thank you.
coverage,
Thank
for
you, Kirti.
asking us so
Thank
many wonderful and thought-provoking questions. Of course, this is not the end of the coverage that we have devoted towards India's 1983 triumph. Between now and the 25th of June, as I mentioned a couple of times on this live coverage already, we will be devoting many more such conversations, reminiscing about that glorious triumph that us Indians are all proud of. Thanks again for joining us for this live coverage. Until next time, take care and see you soon.
Thank you very much.